Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another figure study where we appreciate the form in Transformers or blocky Sentai toys. As long as it transforms, honestly. Today, it is time to put Zyuohger and Zyuohwild together and make Wild Zyuohger. And it's gonna be an undertaking. Now, before we get to that, just pop Samus down there for that size comparison so you can see how that all works. Okay, now for this we're going to need these giraffe slash zebra, in this case the mole slash platypus, and the bear slash jaguar. Ready to combine? I'm ready to combine. Let's do this. So here we have Wild Zyuohger with the B-Team cube animal weapons, and I actually really like this combination. It's not my favorite of the combinations I can do with what I've got, because I don't have all of them. I do not have, what's his name? Dodekaio. I do not have Dodekaio, the whale, but this combination I actually find quite enjoyable. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but I actually do really like it. I know some folks had issue with the fact that I'll pop this out real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Some people took issue with the fact that the gorilla arm is significantly beefier than the eagle arm, but I found that by putting the somewhat dinky looking sword in the gorilla hand and the much more substantial axe in the eagle hand, that sort of balances it out. And this axe is big enough that you don't really notice how narrow and hollow the eagle arm is. So it kind of covers that up. But yeah, I mean, it's just a nice bulky looking mech. And I kind of like how he's got the giant cube shoulders. It's neat, and I was kind of on the fence about even getting the cube weapon animals because I thought, it's no big deal, they're just garnish. But honestly, I do like how they just, even though they're not quite matching, they do bulk out his legs a little bit, which I think fits better with the bulked out shoulders and overall frame. And then, of course, closer here, got the nice chest detail here, the chest plate, and this kind of mimics the Zyuohger's chest a little bit. I mean, it's a similar pattern. It's different, but similar. It kind of calls that in. And I like this almost Art Deco style black and gold with the patterning here for like this funky head crest. The face is still super tiny, and it's even more obviously tiny when you've got a guy who's this enormous. But I mean, I can live with it. It's just a little bit kind of like, why do they have to make his head so tiny? But yeah, I honestly do quite like Wild Zyuohger. I think it's neat. The elephant going into the lion, going into the shark, I mean, it works. It's not and it's not a perfect match, but it does work. And I think when you're looking at him from a distance, it sort of creates the illusion where like this is the sort of pelvis cutoff area instead of up here, so it doesn't look like his legs are quite as weirdly long as they are if you look close and just look for like that black line that goes down the center. I think it works. And I also like how you've got this bit of this like slightly triangular shoulder details on the arms there, and how it's basically inversed on both sides, where you've got red with black and then black with red. I dig that. Dig that very much. And now, just because I wanted to talk about this real quick, I got my hands on Zyuohger before I got my hands on Tosai Zyuoh, which means that this was the only combination that I could do for a little while. And I had a fourth cube animal weapon just kind of sitting around. So the question was, what do I do with it? Because I didn't so much like turning this into a weapon for him and just leaving the sword in his head, because then he had this gray button sticking out of the top of his head. And then I figured out this actually works pretty well as sort of like impromptu armor. And I'll show you what I mean in 1 second. So there, you can wrap the owl, or bat, depending on what you have. You can wrap it around the, it works on either shoulder. I prefer to put it on the eagle because that's the one with the emaciated looking arm. But it actually works as like a pauldron, like shoulder armor. I think that's pretty neat. I mean, it's completely superfluous, and it's not something that you actually have to do, but as a means of storing that fourth animal weapon out of the way, I really kind of dig it. I mean, now that I have Tosai Zyuoh, I just give the owl boomerang to Tosai Zyuoh, but still, I still think that looks really cool. So, yeah. Anyway, calling back to that size comparison from earlier, if you remember that, bring in Samus again. And you can see that Wild Zyuohger is a fair bit bigger. He's about, roughly about a cube and a half taller than, or at least a cube taller than either Wild Zyuohger, or sorry, Zyuoh Wild or Zyuohger. So he's pretty big. Not the biggest, but pretty big. And yeah, it's just, he's cool. I like this. I do like this combination, even with the slightly weird proportions and the one kind of gimpy arm. It works for me. It does actually work for me. Again, not my favorite, but it is solid. It's just that teeny head. That teeny tiny head. But anyway, yeah, he does look good. Anyway, that has been my look at Wild Zyuohger. And you better believe we're going to be going into Tosai Zyuoh at some point in the future, because that's going to happen. It's going to happen. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.